Okay, next bit of video. So we've just come down that bit of river. This hole in the ground has become a pond, but it wasn't intended necessarily to be a pond. It was just where I dug in to remove these reeds to spread them out in the windbreak. Let's go and have a look at them, because everyone told me it would be a job. I didn't really appreciate quite how much hard work it would be. So I had to dig, yeah, quite a long way down to get in underneath them. The root system, I mean, that's not even one of the bigger ones, but it was a network of twisted together roots like this. It probably took me a week and a half to prepare the ground and dig it all out, and to dig the trench there, and to, in the end, I was wrecking my chainsaw, just like sticking the chainsaw blade into the ground to get them out. And it was well worth the chain. It was a hard job, that. And I've got lots more to do down the valley, but at least I know what I'm in for. But it was worth the effort, because they've established quite happily in their first year. We'll see how they go in the summer, but I'll probably give them my washing up liquid. But they're just such an important part of the garden because of how damaging the wind is for the prospects of stuff growing well here. It just, it adds to the problems with water. I'm just looking up the valley to show you the sort of fetch. That's pretty much bang on northwest, which is the prevailing. So if a 70-80 km/h northwesterly comes down here, it finds this valley and it just accelerates down it. And so I'm very encouraged to see how much they're growing. All of these green bits at the bottom, they started growing about 2 months ago. So yeah, in a couple of years, maybe less than a couple of years, they'll have filled out quite a bit. They're not all the way across. See, there's a gap there. That's because as I was clearing out, I found these mastic bushes. So I'm going to encourage the mastic bushes to fill the gap, and they can all knit together, and they're evergreen. I think that'll work quite well. Anyway, to support that whole principle, I got some bigger trees planted in here, so the carob can get quite big, and there's a carob. They're doing super well. This is just a few months old, this tree. I probably started germinating the seeds in November. Oh yeah, around the time when it first rained. And they sprouted and grew very slowly, but steadily in the greenhouse. But I mean, that's one of the better performers. Here's a more representative example. And they just look like the green is becoming luminous. I think they're very happy at the moment, and they're expecting to see a lot of growth. And this is by far the best performer. No coincidence, he was closest to the window in the greenhouse, so he stayed the warmest, I think. And yeah, you can see the new growth on the top there. It's just been creeping along, but in the last week or so, with the rain, it's been accelerating. I think I talked about those bits a little bit in a previous video. This latest line is mostly, in fact, it's all clementines, which have done very well. They grow like steadily, not as exciting as some of the other trees, but they grow steadily and they seem really bulletproof. So you've got clementines, and at the end of each run of these, I've got an ashborough. Again, an evergreen tree that's naturalised to this part of the world. So should grow pretty happily. Wind protect the clementines just down the way from it, and it's quite wet, and it will be, once they're a bit taller, a little bit sunnier than down in the river. So I'm hoping they do really well here. And it's one of the few places, well, of course it's closer to the river, so you actually get this sort of forest floor kind of material here, and nice dark loamy. There's just clearly a lot of life going on here, so stuff seems to like it. I can just plant it straight into the ground, and it grows without any fertilizer or anything. So there's a little clementine, but like I say, I'll come back and I'll do some more detail. I've left a bunch of the growth here, obviously, to leave them a bit less exposed from the afternoon sun. As we get into the autumn, I'll probably go down and just take all these cistish and stuff back a bit. I'd chosen to come through in these spots because there's that olive, but there's also some pretty reasonable olives just growing, no doubt self-seeded from that olive up there. So I can make a nice line of them that fill. There's where the sort of second rivery bit runs, and there's a big gap in the reeds there. But these olives should fill it. So I mean, fill it in 15 years, but they'll fill it. So yeah, that's that windbreak line. And then this is going to be some sort of nut orchard, so walnuts and pistachios and chestnuts and that kind of thing. There's other stuff going on down the valley, but I do that in sort of, I might do a week of work and then not do anything up there for a month or 2 months, because it's all in the future and I don't want to do too much without getting machines to help me. It's all good learning experience, but yeah, after a year and a half of it, I'm about as fit as I'm going to be at doing it. I know the pace that I can get stuff done at, and it won't do. But there's lots of stuff going on in this open bit above the windbreak, so you can probably make out there are sticks everywhere. You can see some down there as well, down the road, like in line with, if you imagine in line with this. There's a lot, and then there aren't actually any up here, but there'll be another line there, and it's just keeping this row arrangement going on down the valley where I break the wind and expose everything to sun. But all of these sticks, let's go and find the best one. There's one that's just growing really well, and these are this year's. There's ones to show you from last year, but I didn't plant so many. Yeah, this one. There's some pines. And the great thing about these is that I don't need to water them. They'll just grow. And yeah, they're natural to the area. I don't want too many of them, but I can fill up the valley to break the wind with them, and they'll just be here for hundreds of years, which is great. Oh, this one's doing really well with the rain. They've just exploded. They do seem a lot more vigorous than the ones that I planted last year, which I think are a different species of pine. I'll look them up in the book and confirm later. They're definitely a different species, but I planted some walnuts here and here. It's a bit of a trial where those black poles are, but in general, this is the line of the next windbreak. So again, trees that will grow quite big, and it's the Californian pepper trees. They are at just the most effective distance from that barrier, about 2 or 3 times the distance of the height of it. Reasonable expected height once the reeds are filled in, you know, maybe 10 feet tall or something. So yeah, what are we, less than 30 feet away from it, so even in a strong wind, it's relatively windless at head height here. And they're growing really well. So there's that one. It's by no means the best performer. So what are we? An almond here, an almond there. There's going to be another line of pomegranates here, but I've only planted one of them in so far. I've got another 5 to plant, and then, like I say, that'll be like a hedgerowy thing, and maybe I'll have pistachios in there as well. And then this is some different approaches. This is another alpharoba, but not grown in the greenhouse. This is a seed put in the ground. So, I mean, those trees up there look more impressive, but this chap here is totally acclimatized and no doubt has a more appropriate root system for its location. So in terms of actually surviving the summer, although it looks less impressive than those ones that I started in the pots, looking at like the lemon and the almond down there in the river, the ones that were started from seed in the ground, they just grow far more strongly through the summer. There's another Shinus mole looking very happy. You know, when this is a 30-40 foot tree, you know, they sort of drape over a little bit like willows, and yeah, so exciting. No one will ever need to eat that much false pepper. You'd probably die. I don't mind. They're stunning trees. There's this one. Oh, there's another carob baby hidden in there somewhere. But this is by far the best performing of those Shinus mole. Look at the size of the leaf there. And from the sort of the spacing in the segments here, and the amount of leaves up here at the embryonic bit, I think it's going to be getting quite a lot taller over the next 2 months. Also, that berm collects, it's the swale. So before I talk about all the figs, this is the swale. It's quite a big hole in the ground, and can you hear my feet on it? It's just filled with the stuff that I can't be bothered to chip, that I clear from the land. It's my bin of wood. But yeah, it's like 2 foot deep. I've nearly filled it up, and the idea is that I basically just smooth the whole landscape in with this stuff. And when the storms hit and the water flows really strongly down here, it fills up with very silty clay. So it'll silt up with clay between all this wood. So took lots of cutting from Dubcat Owl's figs this year, and they're doing really happy, doing really well. The one that survived last year, I did 4 last year and only 1 survived, but these all look like the one that survived last year. So they're, obviously I've managed to avoid some of the failures. This stuff's a bit of a problem. It's also it's one of those good problems. It's called fodder vetch, I believe. And I can use it as a green manure, but it does have, it's very keen on throttling everything. So it's fantastic at covering the ground, but if you've got something you want to look after, you have to kind of stop it getting garrotted by that stuff. So that's another fig from this year. Cool, well this seems like a reasonable spot to break this video.